I'm literally watching a crypto token prove that it's fully backed by real Bitcoin, live on chain. After years of trust issues in crypto, someone finally flipped the script, and it might just change everything. So, check this out. I've been a long-term crypto holder, seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. So you know the drill then. Exchanges collapsing, stablecoins depegging, wrapped tokens raising eyebrows. Now I'm kind of the person, at least the kind of person who still remembers waking up at 3 a.m. to make sure that my coins were safe when some bad news actually hit. Now there's trust issues, yeah, sure. I've got a few of them. And one of my biggest has always been, how do I know that these wrapped Bitcoins or other tokens are actually backed by the real thing? It's always been, trust us, we have the reserves. See this month-old audit, right? Not exactly confidence-inspiring, is it? Well, the other day, I'm scrolling through crypto Twitter, like we all do instead of sleeping, and I stumble upon something interesting. Chainlink, you know, the data oracle people, teamed up with this platform called Solv Protocol to tackle that exact trust problem. Now, they set up something called the Secure Exchange Rate Feed for a token named SolvBTC, which is basically Solv's version of wrapped Bitcoin. And get this, it's not just some random update either. This thing directly addresses the worry that we've all had about wrapped assets. Are they really backed one-to-one by the real asset? Now, in SolvBTC's case, the answer now can be a genuine yes, and here is the proof. So let me kind of break this down. Every SolvBTC token that is out there can now be guaranteed to be backed by one-for-one by actual Bitcoin reserves on chain. There's no more guesswork here. So no more kind of squinting at a PDF audit from last quarter. With this integration, whenever you hold or use SolvBTC, you can have cryptographic proof that a real BTC is locked up backing it up. Now it's like having a live kind of feed of the vault, showing you that for every token in existence, there is an actual Bitcoin sitting safely in reserve. Now, how is that even possible? Well, enter Chainlink's Proof of Reserve, or POR for short. So think of Chainlink as the trusty messenger that brings real-world data onto the blockchain. Now, in this case, it's bringing the status of Bitcoin reserves. Now, the Secure Exchange Rate Feed they kind of set up is basically Chainlink's POR combined with some smart exchange rate logic. Why both, you might be thinking? Well, it's because you want to know that the reserves are there, and you want to know the correct rate to redeem the token for those reserves. So the feed constantly checks. It says, hey, do we have one Bitcoin for each Solv Bitcoin? And at the same time as making sure that the price of Solv Bitcoin reflects the one-to-one backing. It's kind of like a real-time auditor and price oracle all rolled into one. And they didn't stop there either, right? This mechanism has up to at least an upper and lower limit on the reserve data to prevent any kind of price shenanigans. So imagine the feed as a kind of referee calling foul if something doesn't look right. If someone tried to manipulate SolvBTC's price or trick the system into thinking that there's more Bitcoin than there actually is, well, the feed's logic catches it. And basically hacking, at least a hacker kind of proofing the redemption rate by saying, if the reserve doesn't match up, we're not going to let the price move outside of what is legit. So in plain English, no more funny businesses with the price. So what really blew my mind is that all of this is happening in real time on Ethereum's blockchain. Real time as in continuously updated, right there on chain. Now remember, when we used to wait for quarterly audits or some delayed report to find out if a token was solvent, right? Well, that's like kind of waiting for a newspaper in an era of Twitter. Now this is instantaneous. Anyone, and I mean anyone, you, me, and that guy lurking on Etherscan, can monitor the SolvBTC reserve status live. without waiting on some kind of third-party auditor's schedule. So picture this. You deposit SolvBTC into a DeFi lending platform to earn some yield. Normally, the lending platform would hope that SolvBTC is really worth 1 BTC and not just some kind of monopoly money. Now, thanks to this setup, the moment that you deposit the platform, and anyone that you use, anyone else to be fair, can ping the Chainlink feed and get immediate verification. Yes, these tokens are backed by real Bitcoin. There's no assumptions needed then. And if the reserves aren't right, well, you would know before you even click confirm. That is a massive confidence boost for everyone involved. And it's not just us crypto nerds that are getting warm and fuzzy about this, right? Big money is paying attention here. One of the cool things noted was that these anti-manipulation and real-time proof features make institutional investors a lot more comfortable with this whole thing. So think about it like this. If you're a bank or a hedge fund dabbling in DeFi, the last thing that you want is some kind of sneaky business where the thing that you invested in turns out to be hollow. With SolvBTC's new setup, the suite can relax, right? Or I should say, the suits and ties can relax just a little bit more because they know that there's a watchdog on, duty 24/7. The redemption price can't be easily messed with by bad actors, so the token is less likely to do something crazy or unexpected. It's like having a tamper-proof seal on a bottle of medicine. You trust it more because you can see if it's been broken. Now, here's a quick breather before we go any further, and I want to mention two things that kind of keep this channel going and help you too. So the first is that we have a free educational Discord server. The link, of course, is in the description below. If you love digging into crypto tech, or you have any questions, or you just want to hang out with fellow crypto enthusiasts and a few long timers like me, then hop in there. It's a great community and it's completely free to join. Second, I've got to pay the bills here. So for full disclosure, I do have an affiliate link in the description for the Blowfin crypto exchange. If you're looking for a new exchange to try out, Blowfin's one that's kind of been using, at least I've been using lately, right? If you use my link to sign up and trade, it won't cost you anything extra, but it will throw a little support towards this channel here. So thank you in advance, seriously. And again, it's totally up to you if it's there, if you need it. But let's get back to the main story. So beyond Ethereum, here's kind of where it gets even cooler, I should say. Right? This whole secure feed setup isn't just limited to Ethereum. Chainlink and Solv Protocol plan to expand to other networks, including, drumroll, the Bitcoin network itself. So how the heck do you get an Ethereum-based token feed working for Bitcoin? Well, the magic of Chainlink's CCIP, which stands for Cross-Chain Interoperability Protocol, fancy term for basically CCIP, is kind of like a bridge that lets different blockchains talk to each other. Now, in practice, this means that SolvBTC could become usable across multiple blockchains, not just as an ERC20 token on Ethereum, right? They could have a proof of reserve data accessible on Bitcoin or other chains. So if SolvBTC somehow makes its way to, let's say, a Solana or a Polygon or a whatever, then you'd still have that kind of ironclad proof backing it, thanks to Chainlink's relaying the data securely. So they maintain the data integrity across networks so that you don't have to compromise on security when moving SolvBTC around. So this is a pretty big deal because one of the headaches with wrapped assets is moving them between ecosystems. It often breaks the whole trust part if you have to rely on some centralized custodian to port things over. CCIP, I should say, could change that game completely. Oh, and for anyone who's thinking in dollar terms, they even made it so that this feed can pair with Chainlink's BTC USD price feed. Why does that matter? Because while one SolvBTC equals one BTC, is great to know, a lot of platforms also need to know what's that in dollars right now. So if you're doing a loan or something, then you often denominate in USD. So by pairing proof of reserve with a USD price feed, you basically get a live readabout for each kind of Solv BTC is worth X dollars. And yes, it's fully backed by one BTC. That's convenience meeting transparency. Now, before I go on, I need to hit you with a quick reality check. Now, this one might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Now, neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses. This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, we had to get that out there and out of the way because let's be real, this is exciting tech talk, not a promise of Lambos or moons, right? Now that we've got that clear, at least we're all clear on that, let's zoom out just a little bit. The Solv BTC story is part of a much bigger picture of what Chainlink's been up to, right? And if you haven't been following Chainlink closely, then you probably might have missed that it's been having a bit of a moment lately. So for starters, Chainlink's Link token saw record trading volume in August, and a lot of that was tied to a surge in institutional interest. Now I know, right, we hear institutions are coming every other week in crypto, but it's actually happening with Chainlink. So when big players start trading something heavily, you know that there's some real belief in its tech or future. Now, Link was on fire, partly because people are realizing just how crucially reliable data is if crypto is ever going to go mainstream. This is why back in the bear market of 2022, I and many people in our Discord server and membership platforms were heavily accumulating Chainlink. It's one of those assets that we saw as a future play. In the same way that we saw back in 2020, the boom in AI and real-world asset tokenization. We're usually super early to these things, but that means that we can accumulate at much, much lower prices, such as Chainlink at $5 back in 2022 as a clear example. So it's no surprise to many of our fellow community members that Chainlink has this huge boom right now. And Chainlink isn't just doing price feed data and reserve proofs either, is it? Right? They're literally bringing real-world data on chain. True story, right? They've piped us US GDP data, like the actual macroeconomic indicator, onto the blockchain. Now, why would anyone care about that, you might be thinking? Well, let's think about decentralized applications that might want to react to real-world economic events. With GDP data on-chain, you could have a smart contract that, let's say, adjusts an interest rate based on economic growth. Well, that kind of mashup of traditional finance data and crypto tech is something that we used to only really theorize about in nerdy Telegram chats at 3 a.m. But now it's real. And then there's talk of an ETF proposal. And I'm pretty sure that that refers to how Chainlink's tech would be used in traditional finance products like ETFs, as well as obviously Link's token getting an ETF exposure. So if we think about the Link token getting an ETF, that's one thing. But then there's also bringing the ETF products on chain. So for example, ETFs ensuring that they have accurate pricing and data feeds for blockchain uses and DeFi purposes. Basically, whenever a TradFi, that's traditional finance, wants to interact with crypto, Chainlink is like the translator that makes sure that both sides understand the numbers in the same way. It's becoming the bridge between the old money world and our new world, right? Our crypto world. And now another development that had me nodding in respect for many years is Aav's Horizon project. Now, if you don't know Aave, this is one of those biggest or the biggest DeFi lending platforms out there. One that I've been kind of hyping up, I guess, since 2022 as well. Now, they rolled out something specifically for institutions to play in DeFi called Horizon. And guess who's providing the data plumbing underneath? Chainlink again. They're using something called Smart Data NAV-link feeds. Now NAV, N-A-V, it stands for Net Asset Value, to let institutions borrow stablecoins against real-world assets, RWAs, like US Treasuries. And yes, you heard that right. We're talking on-chain loans backed by things like real treasuries or real estate. And who knows what else or what real-world assets else are out there, right? And Chainlink's role in all of this is there. It's there it's kind of to ensure that when a bank says, I need $10 million in treasury bills, let me borrow that against, at least let me borrow against that on Aave. Well, the system can verify that those treasuries even exist and are worth what they claim that they are. They're also integrating proof of reserve again, and something called Smart AUM for tracking assets under management on-chain. Now, the nerd in me, of course, is like, this is not just crypto toys anymore. This is bridging into actual financial systems, and Chainlink is making sure that there's transparency and trust even when we're tokenizing traditional stuff like stocks, credit, and bonds, right? It's wild, but it's also kind of logical, right? If DeFi is going to grow, which I suspect it is going to have a second boom, then it has to connect to real assets, and you need solid data and verification for that. So circling back to this whole SolvBTC, right? What we're seeing is part of that evolution then. Wrapped assets were, genius ideas to begin with, like bridging Bitcoin into Ethereum. DeFi was revolutionary, but they came with this nagging downside of, hey, do we really trust the wrapper? And we saw issues in the past, cases where wrapped tokens weren't fully backed and things went south fast. Now, those moments made a lot of people, myself included, lose sleep or avoid those assets entirely. This Chainlink Solv Protocol solution is like the redemption arc for the wrapped tokens. It's like saying, we heard you, trust is the problem, so we built trustlessness into the product. So instead of trust but verify, it's don't trust, just verify, right? Because verification is built in now. Users no longer have to simply trust. All the reserved data is on chain for anyone to inspect at any time. How awesome is that? Now, for a long-term investor like me, this is the stuff that actually matters in the long run, right? Prices will do their crazy things. They're ups, they're downs, they're sideways. Who knows? But infrastructure like this is what makes the whole ecosystem safer and a whole lot more resilient, right? It's the difference between crypto being a Wild West casino versus a mature financial system that people can rely on. Now, I'm not saying that SolvBTC will take over the world or that Chainlink fixes everything, but I am saying is that this feels like a peek into the future of where crypto is heading. A future where every claim is verifiably instant, right? Or verifiable instantly, I should say, where backed by one Bitcoin, isn't just a line on a website. It's a real-time fact that you can confirm on-chain while sipping your morning coffee. It also makes me reflect on how far we've come as a space, as an industry, right? A few years ago, the idea of real-time proof of anything on a blockchain was just mostly theoretical. We talked about it, where wouldn't it be cool if we had decentralized auditors? And now, here it is, working in a collaboration between DeFi projects and an Oracle king of crypto. Right, before I wrap up here, I want to give you one more shout out, right? The BitGet crypto exchange. Some of you asked where I trade new tokens or just a good platform in general. Well, BitGet is one that I've used and I've had a good experience with it. I do have an affiliate link for BitGet that's down in the description as well, just like I do with Blowfin. So if you use the link, it supports the channel at no extra cost to yourself. And of course, you get a reliable exchange to play with. It's a win-win. Hopefully. And thanks for listening to my little kind of sponsors plugs, I guess. I only share the ones that I genuinely use on the channel. So ultimately, what's the takeaway here? For me, it's a renewed sense of optimism about the direction of crypto. I've seen hype come and go, but solving fundamental issues like trust is what keeps me around. Chainlink and Solv gave us a real-world example of how to do it right. And I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot more projects going this route, because once you've seen transparent, real-time proof of reserves, going back to just trust us, bro, just kind of feels silly. So if you've made it this far, thanks for hanging out with me on this little adventure, more like a casual stroll, I should say, through the latest in the crypto innovations. Then I hope it gave you some insight and maybe even a little bit of excitement for what is to come. Hit the subscribe so you don't miss the next crypto adventure. There's always something wild on the horizon.